and it didn't do it this time. So now I'm hitting go live on YouTube, and now we're
Okay.
actually going live. There we go. All righty. I will just wait a minute. Hi, everyone watching this back later on. Okay, muting that as it shows up. Okay, I'll get the list going. Okay, and so Janelle, have you made a point before to like try to read through this list? Have you ever done that? Or I don't know, like if you're an awards list person. I'm not really typically, but I kind of like to be.
Yeah, I'm not really. I notice like if it says a book has won an award, then I notice that, but I don't tend to go and look at a long list or a short list and think I should read through all of these books. If I see it, I do enjoy looking through it and thinking, oh, that's an author I'm familiar with, or that's a book I've already read, or that might sound interesting, but like I'm not an eager beaver looking, waiting, anticipating when this list will come out. But
yes. Yeah. And I think I'm also one of those people that like, if I like, I'm going to pick, a few off this list that sound the most intriguing, but like, I really admire the people that do the BookTube prize, but I'm like, that is so much of your reading year that you're willing to dedicate to that.
Yeah, it's true. And as far as I understand with the CWA Dagger Awards, there's multiple categories. So some categories I'm more interested in than others too. So
I think
and then
both the historical mystery section, we're going to be like, ooh, yes, please.
Exactly.
All right, so let's share the screen and hopefully this works. Okay.
Excellent.
All right, so you're able to see it? Oh, I'm looking at, it's a little bit behind, like on the live stream, so I wasn't sure if other people could see it. Okay, sorry.
Oh, there we go.
I navigated away from it to look at our live stream. Sorry, everyone. Okay, so yes, there's the gold dagger, which that seems to be like maybe like two mysteries. What is like the Caldecott or the Newberry?
Right.
Yes. So just looking, the only two names I think off the top of my head that I recognize are Ellie Griffiths and S.J. Paris. Oh, and Nicola Upson. So there's three. What about you?
I've never read anything by S.A. Cosby, but I've heard a lot about those books recently, so I'm not surprised that it's on there. Mick Finley, I've actually read the first in that Arrowwood series, and that's a historical fiction set in, I believe it's in the Victorian time period.
Nice.
And it's a guy, it's in the same world as Sherlock Holmes, and this guy dislikes Sherlock Holmes, and he's like, I'm the detective for the normal people. So that was very entertaining.
That's
Nikki
amazing.
French, that's a husband and wife writing team, and they write the Frida Klein series. I read one of those. House of Correction, as far as I know, is a standalone.
I know that Jen Campbell really likes Nikki French. That's like, I've heard about Nikki French from her.
Yeah. Robert Galbraith, of course, that's
J.K. Rowling.
Yeah. I haven't really read that series though. Ellie Griffiths. Now this isn't, she's got her ongoing series, the Ruth Galloway series. Ruth is an archaeologist. The Postscript Murders are the second book in a different series. And I haven't read that one either. Antonia Hodgson, I actually just read a book of hers. She's historical mystery too. And the book that I read was fantastic. It was set in the Marshalsea debtors prison, but not during the era of Charles Dickens, like earlier.
Oh, wow.
An earlier iteration of the prison. And it was pretty brutal, actually. Yeah.
So just like violent.
There was some, it wasn't horrible. Like you knew, there wasn't a huge amount of on the page violence. There was a little bit. But the guy was put in there for debt, obviously. And then he gets an opportunity to solve a crime in order to get out. And so that's what he does. It was really well written. It was really good.
That's a very interesting concept too.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's see, S.G. McLean. I've never read any, but I've wanted to. She writes, I think it's a she, historical mysteries as well, set in Scotland. They're harder to find though. Our library doesn't have copies of those, so that's why I've never read any of those. And then S.J. Paris, of course, writes she writes historical mysteries too. About, and I think this is from the same series, and I forget what the guy's name is. I forget now, but they're historical mysteries set in the 1500s, maybe 1600s. Yeah.
Oh, I like it when it's not, there's a lot that's in like certain eras, and I feel like that's one that you don't hear as often for a setting. And then I feel like it's like a nice like shortcut way to learn about a time period.
Yeah. So what's funny here with this list of gold daggers, I haven't read any book on this list, which I'm actually kind of embarrassed about.
Yeah. I know the only thing that I would be, I think, close to having read is Nicola Upson's The Dead of Winter. Like if I had been caught up on the Josephine Tey series.
Yes, that's a series that I've wanted to read, but I haven't started it yet.
Yeah, I read the first one and I enjoyed it, but then you know how it is. You just get sidetracked with so many different series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I want to read more in that. So hopefully I will make a priority of it. Now I want to look at this, The Hidden Girls. That's an intriguing title.
Yes, and I've never heard of that author either, Rebecca Whitney. But yeah, I saw that too, and I thought that sounded intriguing.
Let's see here. Oh, interesting. I'm going to pull it up. I'll show on Goodreads. The cover is like, as soon as you see the cover, you're like, oh, it's that kind of a book. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a thriller more than a mystery, I would say.
Yes. Yeah. How does the saying go? Just because you're paranoid, it doesn't mean they're not out to get you. Oh boy, for Ruth, a new mother recovering from postpartum psychosis. Every day is difficult. And after months spent hearing voices in the walls and trusting no one, she's no longer confident in her own judgment. And neither, it seems, is anyone else. So when she hears a scream from the local petrol station one night, she decides it must be her mind playing tricks on her. And she's been calling the police a lot, and the police are like, you have to stop calling us so much.
Oh dear.
Yes. Wow. That sounds so intriguing. Very intense as well.
Yes. Definitely very intense.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Wow. So I had actually looked, looked at the list of what the daggers are, and I've just pulled this up now on my computer. So yes, it's they're the premier crime writing award in the UK, and the gold dagger is given to the overall best crime novel of the year, from thrillers to mysteries, procedurals to psychological suspense. So they look at the whole umbrella, and it's the best overall crime novel of the year. So that's interesting.
That is, yeah, the creme de la creme of the crime novels. Now with the S.G. McLean, sorry, you said you had read like some in the series. Damien Seeker, that's what the series is called.
Oh, is it from that series? I've read the first one and I really enjoyed it.
Really?
It was really good. What I liked about it was that it's set in an era that could be very violent and gritty, like the one set in the Chalet prison. And you knew there was some violence happening, but it was all off the page. And so what I enjoyed was you got the good story, the good mystery without having to slog through a whole bunch of violence on the page. And Damien was a really interesting character because it's set in the time of Cromwell. And so of course there's questions about loyalty and right and wrong and whether or not the Cromwell regime is and so, but he's a guy who's just like, listen, I do my job and don't think too much about it. But in the first book in that series, he gets pushed on that a little bit and he has to actually start to think through the right and wrong. And so, yeah, it was really good. I would definitely read more from that series.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it looks, I'm getting like CJ Sansom vibes from the cover. So immediately I'm like, oh, yes. I absolutely am interested.
Yeah. And that was one, like I said, my library didn't carry that series. And so it was one of the only times that I actually ordered a brand new book on Amazon and it wasn't even out yet. So I pre-ordered it and I never do that, but I had such a good feeling about it that I decided to go for it and it was worth it. It was really good.
Oh, well, and it seems like you had a good intuition. Yeah. So it's the 5th in the series. And it's set in the summer of 1658. The combined Stuart and Spanish forces have been defeated by the English and French armies on the coast of Flanders. So it sounds very intriguing.
It does. Yeah, that's a series that I am definitely going to continue on. So yeah, I guess I'm just going to buy the next book from Amazon. To continue with the series.
Yeah, I'm gonna check. And that seems like one that my library might not have. Yes. Now the Silver Collar, I wanted to look that one up. Tom Hawkins is the inspector and London 1727.
So yeah, I think that's the same one, the same guy who was in the debtor's prison in the first book.
Yeah, The Devil in the Marshalsea. That's the first one. Yeah. Whew. No, not too many like debtor's prison setting mysteries.
No, not at all. And what was so fascinating, what I loved about it was she had obviously done her research. And so you got this great information about the world inside a debtor's prison, but it didn't feel like you were reading an essay, right? Like she wove it in really well. But I was amazed, like it, like there was a pub in there run by someone in the prison, a debtor in the prison. There was a cafe in there where you could buy meals. Like there was like this whole little world had grown up inside this prison, and this is how people survived. And their only way, of course, to make money, if you're in the prison, how else are you supposed to make money? So it was really fascinating. Actually, it was really interesting.
Yeah. Oh, I know that is such a like they're in there for debt, but they're going to stay in there for debt. And I'm very glad I don't have to worry about being put in a debtor's prison.
No kidding, right?
Okay. And so then there are the Ian Fleming Steel Dagger. And I'm assuming from that name that means kind of like espionage kind of.
Yes. I checked my list here and it says that it's for the best espionage, psychological, or adventure thriller novel. So what's interesting there is it doesn't have to necessarily just be spies or espionage.
Yes.
Which is why Ian Rankin is on there, because Song for the Dark Times that's got to be one of his Rebus books. I really like the Rebus books.
And are those procedurals kind of?
Yes, set in Edinburgh, in Scotland. They're a little bit dark though, so I don't read them a ton at a time. I read a little bit here or there, but Rebus is just such a great character. I do enjoy those. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the Lindley books are really at my threshold. So I never read, I always take several months between them. But
Yeah.
they're so good that I'm willing to kind of just go through emotional upheaval.
Yeah. Now, I find it very interesting that Ruth Ware is on this list. How
Yeah.
is she? Well, I guess they're calling it psychological. They must, because I read
Okay.
one by one, because it's an isolated closed circle mystery that was, they were saying it's like, and then there were none. So I,
Yeah.
I was like, how can I not read this book? But I actually wasn't a huge fan.
Yeah, I read In a Dark, Dark Wood and I was like, it's fine. I'm just not a great candidate for thrillers also because I find it's like so I just feel like I've got whiplash by the end of reading one. And I
Yeah.
love like I do like to be like blown out of the water by a plot, but yeah, it's too wild of a ride.
Yeah. Yeah. I was a little bit disappointed because I do love that trope that in a mystery, isolated closed circle where a small group of people are
Yes.
stuck somewhere. The
Yes.
problem is Agatha Christie set the bar so high that anybody else trying to do it has a tough row to
Yes.
hoe.
Yeah. And what was the other the one where they're at a stag party in Scotland in the middle of nowhere?
Lucy
Um,
Foley.
yes, I tried that one and it was just like I can already tell I'm like so stressed out as I'm reading this.
Yeah.
And
The
I think
interesting thing is because I think modern day writers like Lucy Foley and Ruth Ware, who are doing that trope, they're doing it from a psychological thriller standpoint
yes,
rather than say like a golden age mystery. And they're very different, right? Psychological
so
thrillers are
different.
very different because you quite often have it's peopled by unlikable characters and you get to know even more about them in these psychological thrillers. The
Yes,
characters in And Then There Were None weren't necessarily very likable, but you didn't
right.
deep dive too much into them. You just got right into the suspense, and then you were in that story. It didn't really matter too much the depth of character.
Yes.
But in the psychological thrillers you get so much of their character, and then it's
Yes.
too much for me when I'm like, I need to find at least one person that I can get behind here.
It's like, gosh, I guess they all have to die.
That's right.
Yeah, I guess like the most recent that I like can kind of enjoy that more intense psychological is Ruth Rundle.
Mm-hmm.
She does get fairly dark, but I feel like um she doesn't, it's not as action packed, whereas these newer ones, it's like all of the intense psychology and it's so action packed. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it just feels overstimulating. I
Yeah.
just love like thinking about like how I enjoy the Beatrix Potter mysteries, which the mysteries in those are like an afterthought. It's
Yeah.
like villain, it honestly feels more like Miss Read than it does a mystery series.
That's funny. There's
Yes.
just the mystery is just kind of added in
Yeah. It's
for
like,
an added
hey, here's
bonus.
this little murder that happened off the page.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Okay. All right. I guess I'll scroll down to the John Creasy / New Blood Dagger. And so, Janelle, I'm guessing this is the like debut author kind of.
Yeah,
Okay.
first time author.
And now you said also this is UK. So it's not just given to UK authors, or is it just given to UK authors?
No, this one says that it's a first time author of any nationality, first
Okay.
traditionally published in the UK in English.
I see. Okay. Yeah, because I'm noticing the author at the top, Eva Bjorg Eggsdotter. Um,
Yeah,
I was like, well, either she is in a family of immigrants, or they publish not just, you don't have to like be a UK citizen. Which, all right, let's look up her title because it's great. The Creek on the Stairs.
That's good. It already sounds scary.
It does. Oh, okay. It's like Scandi noir. You know that term?
Oh, yeah.
Um,
I can't read very many of those either.
yes, those are really intense. So when the body of a woman is discovered at a lighthouse in the Icelandic town of Akranes, it becomes clear that she is no stranger to the area.
Mm,
Yes.
all
Yeah,
right.
it does seem like a really cool setting. But okay, yeah. Oh, that's what someone needs to write. Like something set in Scandinavia, like a historical mystery series set there with
That
a
would be
first.
awesome. That would be great. Yeah.
Ooh, all right. Now I'm going to look up The Chalet by Katherine Cooper.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I was intrigued by that title too.
So I'm guessing Switzerland, the French Alps, 1998. Oh, okay. So this is four friends, one luxury getaway, the perfect murder. Two young men ski into a blizzard, but only one returns.
Ooh.
Yes, that gives me a bit of the Lost Man by Jane Harper.
Yep.
20 years later, four people connected to the missing man find themselves in that same resort. Each has a secret. Two may have blood on their hands, and one is a killer in waiting. Someone knows what really happened that day. Okay, even though this is set in a blizzard, I would say that if I'm going to be in the mood for this, it would actually be a great like summer mystery.
Mm-hmm. That sounds great. It's interesting to me how popular this particular trope is. Something happens years before, and the people involved are now gathering for some reason or other, and the truth comes out.
Yes,
This is really, really popular right now.
it is.
And I haven't read very many of those books, but I have heard about so many of them.
Yes.
But if it's done well, great. Like I read last year, I read Shiver by Ellie Reynolds, which was a similar idea. It was set in the Alps. It was either the French or the Swiss Alps. I can't remember. And something had happened years before, and everybody's back for a reunion, and then people start dying, right? Of course.
Now
that one had the problem of all unlikable characters for me, though. So I was like, come on.
Ian, there is one Agatha Christie I think kind of can fall into that. Well, you probably, because you know her better than I do, or know her books better than I do. Five Little Pigs kind of feels like that, like revisiting, thinking back on the crime that happened.
Yes. Yeah, because that's like 16 years later or something. 10 years later or something. Yeah, very similar.
Yes. Let's see here. Under Violent Skies. I love the puns and mystery titles.
That is a good title. I like that.
North Norfolk. Sarah Hurst has moved to Norfolk's police serious crimes unit, leaving behind her mother in London. Her mother won't tell Sarah the truth about her father.
Ooh. That's good. It's interesting. Again, this is another list. I've never read anything by, well, I mean, I guess it's the first time. Let me just say, I've never heard of any of these books.
Yes. Oh, and then I'm going to look up The Bone Jar. I do think these are all generally kind of seeming more hard-boiled than you and I kind of go for.
Yeah, I think so.
I think your tolerance is a little bit stronger than mine, but still maybe not generally what you like are drawn towards.
It's true. I'm definitely drawn more towards the mystery side of the spectrum than the thriller side.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's funny. I do think like Jane Harper's tread right between, and
yes,
they do it really well.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I see coming up, we've got the historical dagger, so I'm excited. Oh, Basim Khan, that's great.
Yes. Okay, on the record, I have to say, I have to ask, have you enjoyed the Mary Russell, Laurie R. King series? Because I have not.
Do you know what's funny about that is it seems like a series that I would enjoy. It's about Sherlock Holmes and Mary Russell. It's the time period. I love the Victorian, Edwardian time period. But I think I read one book in that series and then I never continued. And sometimes it's because I just forget. I have so many series on the go. But I think in that case, it was just, I didn't care enough to keep going. It was just,
Yeah.
it just didn't grab my attention enough.
Well, and I think once I had a hunch about future relationship dynamics that happen. And I was like, oh, if she's going to do that. And then I looked it up. I'm like, oh my goodness. No, I just cannot. Not like I thought it was like wrong. It just, for something about it was off-putting to me. And um, it's like the writing, it was really solid. And also I loved what a kind of like, here are these documents that I found, and kind of like love a story and research was in there, but it was just the execution that I was like, okay, it's just
Yeah.
not meant to be for me.
Yeah. So I
Um,
like that Fasim Khan is on this list, and it's not for an Inspector Chopra book. This is a new series, and I have this book, but I haven't read it yet. But I'm really excited about it because it's set in India in, oh, I'm going to get this wrong. I want to say the 20s, the 40s, something like that. And it's the first female police constable.
Oh,
And then something happens on New Year's Eve and she gets the case because she's the only one around or something like that. I can't remember, but yeah, I thought it was a great setup, a really interesting time period, and I love the way Vaseem Khan writes. Like, I am a massive fan of the Inspector Chopra series.
I read and just loved the first one, and I keep harassing my dad to try it because he loves the Brunetti series. And to me, this feels like the Indian counterpart, and all down to like Brunetti has a wife that has like quippy and like snarky things to say, but is really intelligent, and they have a great, like, they view themselves as equals. They have a great relationship, and just, you really get a flavor of, you feel like you were in Venice when you were reading it. And that to me, I was like, Dad, like, you have to. And I was like, and there's an elephant.
The elephant is so adorable. I love the scene in that first book where he's following the guy through the streets of Mumbai, but he's got this baby elephant with him.
Yes.
So how are you supposed to stay undercover when you've got a baby elephant? And then he takes him with him into the mall, and I was just picturing that scene in my mind. It was brilliant.
I know. And I love too when Poppy was giving him a bath. And at one point he got kind of miffed at her and he squirted water from his trunk onto her.
Yeah. Well, you definitely need to continue in that series because there's a new character that enters, and I think that you're going to love, who becomes a huge part of the series. So, yeah.
Oh, I'm excited. I definitely want to. Oh, this is so cool. So I looked up Justice for Athena. It's the third in a series that's set in the Hellenic era in Athens. Yes. So the first one is Shadows of Athens, 443 BC.
Wow.
Yes. So the city of Athens is being rebuilt after decades of war with Persia. Like, never read anything in that setting.
Me neither. Wow.
Yes.
That sounds good.
And the main character is Philocles, I think, or Philocles or Philocles. I think Philocles. He's an aspiring playwright.
Cool.
Oh, yes. That one sounds very cool.
It does. That sounds great. Can you look up the A.D. Swanston book, Chaos? Because that name sounds so familiar to me, but I can't think what the books, if I've read anything by them, I can't think of who it is.
Let's see here. Oh, it kind of has a C.J. Sansom type cover. So it's the Christopher Radcliffe series, and the first one is the Incendium plot.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
That's
I think it was the cover of the Incendium plot that caught my attention. Because I'm pretty sure I have read that one because it's set in London, isn't it? In like maybe the 1600s.
yeah, it's like just before 1572.
Okay.
And yeah, all to fear of plague and invasion, Elizabeth the First. Yeah, not a great time to be a churchgoer.
Nope.
Like, I'm Protestant. I mean, I'm Catholic. I mean, I'm Protestant. Whatever you want me to be, I'll be.
Yeah, exactly, right? People are like, I don't even know anymore.
Yes. Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh. All right. Then Snow by John Banville. So it's St. John Strafford, but I'm assuming it's St. John Strafford is the
Mm-hmm.
name of the detective inspector. Oh, the Irish Garda. World War II. English parents from every social class sent their children to the countryside for safety. So this is the first in the series.
Okay.
The British royal family take this evacuation a step further and secretly moving the princesses to the estate of the Duke of Edenmore in neutral, they put it in quotes, Ireland. I did not know this. Did that really happen? They like sent the princess.
I think so, because weirdly enough, I read another book that came out recently that had the same plot, and it was called
Really?
The Unexpected Guests. And now I can't remember who wrote
Oh,
it, but it was the same idea that the princesses were sent to Ireland
that's so interesting.
during a part kind of when the bombing was the worst in London. And
Yes.
then, yeah, the one that I read, The Unexpected Guests, of course, then a murder happens in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And the people who are there to protect them end up investigating. It
Yes.
was
This
really interesting.
sounds
Now, I had no idea that that was the plot of Snow.
well, that was the plot of the first one, which was the secret guests. And then
Oh,
so
wait a
that might have
second.
been that one.
The Secret Guests. I bet you that's the book that I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's 2019 is when it came out. That was like, wow, this is very similar. That's awesome. So that then this one, the second Snow, is, I mean, yeah, I think it's just like Irish life. A parish priest has been found dead in Ballyglass House, the family seat of the aristocratic, secretive Osborne family.
Okay.
So you liked The Secret Guests?
I did. I didn't love it, but I did like it. It was interesting. I liked the setting. I liked that it was World War II, but in Ireland.
Yes,
That was different. You don't read a lot about Ireland during the Second World War.
it's very
For
true.
books, it's not a very common setting because, of course, they were neutral during the war.
Yes. Um, okay. The Unwanted Dead by Chris Lloyd. All right, June 1940, set in Paris.
Ooh.
And police detective Eddie Gural, a survivor of the last World War, watches helplessly as the world changes. And he is in charge of finding who is responsible for the murder of 4 refugees.
Okay. That sounds good.
It
I
does.
would read
And
that.
there was a Maisie Dobbs that I just read, and I can't remember the name of that one, but there was a refugee who had died, and the police are like, not our problem. And I
Oh,
love that she's like, no, we need to investigate this.
yeah, no
Um,
kidding.
yeah, like happened in our country, so we should be concerned.
Exactly.
Okay, then now the S.J. Paris series, you said you have read some of those.
Yes.
Okay.
But I haven't finished the series, so I haven't read Execution for sure. Who is the guy? I've been trying to remember his name of the main character.
Giordano Bruno.
Yes, that's right. What's interesting about that series is that he was a real person.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so because he's a real person, if you go and look up his life, then you know where the series is going.
That is so funny when you like have real people involved in a book series. Oh, that's
Yeah.
so funny. Oh, that's so great.
Yeah, because I'm remembering it now. The first book, I think it was called Heresy, and it's him going from somewhere in Europe to, well, probably Italy to England. He had to escape because he got into trouble
Mm-hmm.
and with his beliefs or whatever, and so he had to escape to England, and then he
Ah.
ended up getting involved in a mystery that happened in Oxford, I'm pretty sure.
Ooh. Yeah, no, it looks awesome. Yeah, it says a Tudor thriller. Which, yeah, that's like the kind of thriller I like, is one that's set a long, long time ago.
Exactly. Yeah, those ones, they're very well written. They're also, as far as I understand it, they're all quite long. They're like 500 pages or more. They're a commitment, but
So they'll feel kind of like the Shard Lake.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, cool.
Oh, and I see now that you've scrolled down, Ovidia U is on there, which is great. I just recently read the first one in that series. This is the Mimosa Tree Mystery. So I don't know which one it is in the series, but I read the first one, the Frangipani Tree Mystery, which I loved. It was set in, Singapore?
Singapore?
Yeah, in the 30s. And I just loved it. It was a kind of a different location. I've read a couple books set in Singapore, but not any that are set in Singapore in the 30s. And so I really liked that. And the main character, she was great. She was a younger girl.
Oh, that's so cool. And do you know, it's the author from Singapore?
Yes.
Oh, how cool. And it's like, these are all getting translated, or if it's nominated for this, she just writes them in English.
I believe they're in English. I don't think they're translated.
Oh, and then I didn't realize that Auntie Lee's Delights, it's like showing another series. Oh, I definitely want to try this author. She's like, I've heard other people talk about that series, and this is just like anything that isn't your typical, like, obviously I love mysteries set in England, but anything that feels different is nice for variety.
Yeah. And these ones, they're historical mysteries, but they feel a little bit like cozies. You know, like there's not violence and, a bunch of horribleness.
Yes.
They were the first book. I actually have the second one out from the library right now. I haven't read it yet, but it's on my cart.
Cool. You have that one amongst many, many others that are all vying for your attention.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. The Hoopla has the Auntie Lee's Delights, but I'll have to see if the library has the other one.
Okay. I haven't read the Auntie Lee series, but I think that potentially might be modern day. Still in Singapore, but modern day, I think.
Gotcha. Oh, cool. All right. Now I'm going to look up The Night of Shooting Stars.
Yes. Ben Pastor. Yeah, I haven't heard of that author.
Ooh, okay. I'm getting kind of Maisie Dobbs vibes from that cover.
Okay.
And it is Captain Martin Bora is the sleuth. Oh, interesting. He is an anti-Nazi Anglo-German officer in World War II Europe. That's intense.
Oh, wow. And where is it set? Is it in Germany?
Maybe Poland. I'm seeing things saying Krakow. It says part wartime, political intrigue, detective story, psychological thriller, and religious mystery.
Wow. Yes. It's got everything.
Oh, yeah. So it says it follows a German army captain and a Chicago priest as they investigate the death of a nun in Nazi-occupied Poland. Oh, my God. There's a lot going on.
There is. Oh, I'm definitely going to have to look up that one. That one sounds really interesting.
Yes. Oh, yeah, this is sad. Captain Martin Bora discovers the abbess, Mother Kazimierza, shot dead in her convent garden. That's so sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so interested. This author was born in Italy and then has lived in the for 30 years in the US and works as a university professor in Vermont.
Oh, really?
Wow,
That's interesting.
it is.
Hmm.
Very intriguing.
So this Skeleton's Guide to Domestic Poisons, that's an intriguing title.
It is. Let's see here. It's skeleton.
Oh, sorry, skeletons. Isn't that funny when you see a word and your mind just like
because it's
puts
so
in
close.
the familiar word, right?
Yes. Okay, so it's the first in the Arthur Skelton series. Unassuming Yorkshireman Arthur Skelton is one of the most celebrated and recognizable barristers in the land. He had success in the high-profile Dryden case. The scandal of 1929 catapulted him to the front pages of newspapers. And he's going to defend Mary Dutton, dubbed the Collingford poisoner by the press.
Oh,
Ooh.
Yorkshire in the early 30s.
Yes,
That sounds,
please.
yeah, I'll be looking that one up too.
Maybe you'll run into James Herriot.
Awesome.
And let's see, is there already another one lined up? There is another one that's coming out, or it came out last year.
Okay.
So okay. Did we looked up chaos, or have we not looked that up yet?
Yeah, we did. That was the one set in the in the Elizabethan time period.
Yes. All right, now The City Under Siege.
Michael Russell, that name looks familiar to me. I don't think I've read any books by him, but I might have one of his books on my shelf.
Hiding somewhere. Stefan Gillespie, Dublin, 1934.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think I put maybe it just says detective. So I'm guessing if he's called detective, he works like with law enforcement.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So another Irish setting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so many series to investigate.
Exactly.
All right. Maybe we'll close out. What are the short story Dagger, Gold Dagger for nonfiction? I cannot do nonfiction. Dagger in the Library. Do you know what that is?
I'm going to look that up, see if that's on my list. Dagger in the Library is for a writer whose body of work is popular with library users and who in turn supports libraries and borrowers.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe though, for the sake of time, we will close with crime fiction in translation, which is really cool because I'm always like, I like the idea of reading more in translation. I just don't make time for them.
Yeah. Now I'm very interested to see that Frederick Bachman is the first one on this list because I would not have put his books as mysteries.
Anxious. I'll look at the synopsis of Anxious People.
I've actually never read any Frederick Bachman. Have you?
I haven't either. And he's on the periphery of my list. People keep telling me I would really enjoy him. Oh, okay. I remember hearing about this. So it comes a comedy about a crime that never took place. A would-be bank robber who disappears into thin air and 8 extremely anxious strangers who find they have more in common than they ever imagined.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, a robber bursts in and takes everyone in the apartment hostage. And so then they're all like sitting together, opening up to one another. And then he just disappears.
Okay. Interesting.
Okay, then the Coral Bride.
Never heard of this author.
Detective Morales. Ooh, it's a term for a detective I've never seen before. Maybe it's the French term. I think this is a French series. It's like enquêteur. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Yes, and you know what's funny is all the Goodreads synopses are in French. So.
Oh.
All right, Greed by Mark Ellsberg. Oh, this almost sounds like one that Aaron would enjoy. Uh,
Okay.
it's about Herbert Thompson, who is a Nobel Prize winning economist on his way to Berlin to give a speech. And he plans to reveal a groundbreaking formula that will halt the economic downturn and bring prosperity for all. But on the way, he is killed in a car accident.
Oh, yeah. That could be right up Aaron's alley. Where is that set?
Uh, Berlin.
Berlin, you said. Yeah.
Berlin.
Okay.
Mhm.
Cool.
Yes. All right. Disaster tourist. Yoon. That's a great name.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and this is like the Aaron category, an eco thriller.
Oh.
A woman is stuck behind a desk working for a travel company, and yeah, there's like weird investments at this remote island, and yeah, suspicious like things to do with it.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. The Secret Life of Mr. Ruse. I like that title.
Yes. That's a good one.
The Barbarati series and All in Dutch.
Okay.
All right, let's see. I'll
There
look
you
up
go.
one more, which is To Cook a Bear. That's a great title.
That is a good title.
Ooh, okay. Set in the north of Sweden in 1852.
Oh.
And a runaway Sami boy and his mentor, who's a revivalist preacher, and they investigate a murder in their village along with the mysteries of life.
Interesting.
Yes. Oh, and the preacher, I love it. I love it when investigators have hobbies, and it says the preacher is an avid botanist.
Cool.
Yeah.
That one sounds interesting. I'm gonna have to look into that one.
Yes.
That's cool. Did the list, the dagger list, did it include the diamond dagger?
Let's see here. I'll scroll down. Gold dagger, dagger in the library, publisher's dagger. Maybe it was at the beginning. I'm not seeing it here so far.
Okay. I didn't know, maybe they don't do a long list for it. The diamond dagger is given to an author for lifetime achievement. So I was just curious if they had a long list, but they might not. Sometimes they just choose somebody.
Yes. Oh, I see. So they're kind of I feel like if you're at the award ceremony, then you're extra taken aback.
Yeah. But if it's not on there, maybe they just do a short list for the diamond dagger.
They might. Well, thanks for doing this with me, Janelle.
Thanks for inviting me. That was fun. That was fun to look through that list. I now have a huge list of books to check out. Not that I don't already have enough to read,
right.
But you know,
it's a way of life.
That's right. That's right.
All right. And thanks anyone who was watching with us and who's watching it back later on. And maybe I will report back if I get around to any of these soon that intrigued me.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Bye.